Hi, everybody. This is Scott Cluthe. Welcome to my new talk show, Positively Incorrect. Now, this show will bring you week after week great guests and real insight and solutions on all areas of life. Health, relationships, new business paradigms, special guests and topics that are hot and trending, and some of the best intuitive people around. Now, I've spent over 25 years talking with thousands of guests on local and satellite radio coast to coast, so it's a real blast to bring you the TV version of Scott Cluthe's Positively Incorrect. Now, later in the show, I'll tell you how to reach me. I always want to hear from you on the guests and themes you want to know more about. Also, a very special commentary from a one-of-a-kind guy, Seymour Foxhole, the social commentator for the rest of us. Today, though, it's great to welcome to the Positively Incorrect studio a man who has been shot in the chest, fired from his job, audited by the IRS, and spent years caring for his critically ill, lovely wife, Claire, for many years. He also presided at the wedding of my beautiful daughter, Nina, a few years ago. So it's great to welcome to the Positively Incorrect studios, Rob Pennington. Dr. Pennington, it's great to see you, Rob.
Thank you, Scott. It's always a joy to be with you. We've done it for so long, over so many years.
Absolutely. A little about Rob. His new book is Find the Upside of the Downtimes, How to Turn Your Worst Experiences into Your Best Everyday Experiences. And every chapter is autobiographical with true stories from Rob's past. Dr. Rob Pennington has his Ph.D. in educational psychology from the University of Texas. Rob has been the highest rated corporate trainer by Fortune 100 employees every year for 29 years and is the co-founder of Resource Associates, as well as professional speaker and executive coach and consultant. And I know I didn't nail that title exactly right, but what is the complete title? Because the title tells the story, Rob.
Well, a title and a subtitle. The title is Find the Upside of the Downtimes. And the subtitle is How to Turn Your Worst Experiences into Your Best Opportunities.
And you know, reading the book, Rob, I feel there's so much of your story in all the books that move me. Your story really touches so much of me and my story. Maybe it has to do with the IRS auditing you. I don't know.
Well, it does deal with health and finances and education and relationships. And, you know, just looking at my own life, I've touched a lot of challenges. And so I think other people relate to that in a nice way. It's easier, I think, for people to hear a story than to be taught a lesson. And sometimes if those stories comes as parables where the lesson's kind of in the story, it's a lot easier to relate to.
But you know, there's something else about it, too. You do share the stories, and we're going to talk about the stories because they're phenomenal learning experiences. And you share the lessons learned, but you also share processes for people to facilitate their own growth, don't you?
Right. Every chapter has the lesson that I learned, and then an activity for the participant or reader to go through to save them time and pain in getting to that on their own. That's my goal, is just to help people take a few steps in their life that give them the encouragement that they can make changes in a positive direction.
And there are upsides to downtimes, but when we're in it, we never believe that story. I know I don't for one second.
Absolutely. No. I mean, when we're in the middle of it, we're lost, it's hurtful, we're frightened, we're afraid. And for someone to come along and say, oh, it's going to be better, you know, that's not helpful. And even the little cliche of, you know, when a door closes, a window opens, what's left out of that is you have to turn around.
Oh, good
to see the window.
That's right, to see the window.
You
can't
have to
keep staring at the same door. That doesn't work.
No, no, it's not going to open there. You've got to make a change. And I think that's not easy to do, but it is possible. And that's what I'm wanting to do, is to help people begin to see that things are possible in the middle of a difficult circumstance, because I've certainly lived them.
Well, we're going to open that door when we come back, crack it wide open here on Positively Incorrect with your host, Scott Cluthe. My special guest, Dr. Rob Pennington. We'll be right back after these important messages. Stay with me, won't you? Welcome back. This is Scott Cluthe. You're watching Positively Incorrect. And my great guest today, Dr. Robert Pennington. Rob, great to have you here.
Always a pleasure.
Let's talk about some of the true life stories you share that make up finding the upside of the down times. In fact, one of the most dramatic, I'm sure it's the one you do if you have a 3-minute interview about being shot in the chest in the beautiful village area of Houston, Texas.
Yeah, it's a really dramatic moment. I mean, I was just walking home from the drugstore, and a car came by kind of slow, and the driver got out. I thought he was just going to ask directions, and he grabbed me and told me to get in his car, and 2 of the men jumped out of the car, and this is called a stressful moment. You know, it's very frightening to have something like that happen.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah, and somehow I was able to get out of his reach, and he pulled out a gun, and frankly, I thought he was just going to rob me. And so I just thought, okay, you know, I'll give him the money I got, and that'll be it. And so I just said, what do you want? Thinking he was going to say, give me your wallet. And he didn't. When I said, what do you want? He just smiled and shot me.
Just like that.
Just like that. And the miracles are that the bullet stuck in the sternum. It didn't enter my body. You know, a 1/4 inch to either side would have just blown through me.
That's a miracle.
Yeah. Grabbed my shirt and spun the material around the bullet, and it created wadding around the bullet, and I didn't bleed. Not at all.
You didn't bleed?
Not at all. Not
That's a miracle.
And it didn't knock me down, and I think it kind of scared them because they turned and ran away. All that happened in a few seconds. And I turned and went to the first house with the light on and knocked on the door, and the guy who opened the door was wearing operating clothes, which I thought was a good sign. And
not a bad sign.
Not a bad sign. He was a heart surgeon.
That's ridiculous miracle. That's,
and he
you knocked on the door, and he's a heart surgeon?
Yeah, and I said, I think I've been shot, and he said, come in. Now, of course, that wasn't one of the best times that ever happened to me at the moment. I mean, that was very
you didn't see the upside at that moment
no.
on his doorstep with
No.
the twisted bullet in the chest kind of thing.
But I'm a professional speaker. And so I'm always talking about my life and the stories of my life. And so it wasn't too long before I realized this is a pretty dramatic story. And in figuring out how to tell it
That's great.
And include it in my presentations on successfully managing the stress of change, it's been one of the most powerful things that's ever happened to my speaking career. I mean, it's a signature story. Nobody else can tell that story unless they got shot in the center of their chest.
True. And
in terms of my speaking career, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. So it is true that difficult challenges happen, but there are opportunities that occur sometimes as a result of them that we don't see in the moment of them. And it's just a matter of beginning to think about it as possible and look for them more often and more quickly.
You know, and it makes me think of just recently, we're taping the show, Steve Jobs passed away.
Yes.
Founder of Apple. And he, in fact, talked about what was one of the best things that happened to him
getting
out
fired.
of pancreatic cancer.
And that too, that he said 2 things in his speech to Stanford University commencement, that the disease of the pancreatic cancer got his attention about the power of death. And he used it every day to make sure that his life was on purpose and what he was doing. He also talked about getting fired, which also was in my story, and how losing that job with Apple just reoriented him in a very powerful way and got him to be clear about what he wanted in life. And he does say it was one of the best things that ever happened. It's not at the moment. That's the important thing. It's not at the moment
we don't
it happens.
see the light right away.
No.
Not if we're staring at the tunnel.
No. But what I want to do is shorten the amount of time it takes people to get there. And that's what the book is. It's a short book. It's not a long thing. And I encourage people to take their time and just read 1 chapter and let it sink in and do the activity so that the experience that they have begins to move them into a pattern of this being a habit in their life.
Well, we'll talk more about there's so much wisdom that Dr. Rob Pennington shares today here on Positively Incorrect with your host, Scott Cluthe. Stay with me. We'll be back with more. Welcome back. Your host, Scott Cluthe, here on Positively Incorrect. It is great to have you viewing and joining us. By the way, I would love for you to connect with me. You can send your comments about programs, themes, guests you'd like to see here on Positively Incorrect to jscmedia@sbcglobal.net, or check out my website, scottcluthe.com, or join me on Twitter, JSC Media. My guest today is Dr. Rob Pennington. His book is Find the Upside of Down Times, Turn Your Worries into Positive Action Plans, Turn Your Fears into Opportunities for Hope and Help, and turn your life into something better than you thought possible. And Rob, you know, we were just talking about being shot through the chest having the bullet lodged in there and all that. One final thought, we were talking about Steve Jobs. One of the things that I got out of what he said was, he said that the opportunity of losing his job and also the opportunity of pancreatic cancer showed him that not only should he not waste any day or any time, but he should do what's true to his heart.
Absolutely.
And that was the important message for me.
Yes, and we all need to hear that message. And we all need to make that decision more, because 95% of the people, I think, are doing a job that is not their perfect career.
Right.
You know, they're doing it because they have to make money to pay for their expenses. But very few people figure out how to get paid to do what they would love to do and would even be willing to pay to do. And there's a wonderful book, Money is My Friend, that by Phil Lout, that talks about creating your perfect career. And a lot of times this is a very difficult time for people. People are losing their jobs.
Yes.
People are having difficulty finding jobs. And finding that window requires sometimes making a change. And this is an opportunity for many people to move in the direction of a job that they really would love to do.
Well, you know, it's funny. In your new book, Find the Upside of the Downtimes, you talk about losing a job. Tell us a little about that story, and what was the upside in getting fired?
Well, I think for many years I had wanted to be out on the road teaching seminars and workshops, but I had no idea how to do that. And I had a state job, and I got fired. In that environment, in the first 6 months, you can be fired for no cause, and I was there for about 3 months. And I think my supervisor realized...
Because I wanna? That's why they fired you?
No, I think the supervisor realized I was doing more in that 3 months than they had done in 3 years, and saw a problem.
That's
so
always a
they were
problem.
getting rid of me.
Yes.
But the magic of the moment was when they were firing me, the phone rang, and it was long distance, and it was someone who was teaching a seminar I was going to be taking.
Get out of here.
And he asked, you know, what he could do to help, and I said, well, I'm right in the middle of getting fired right now. And he said, like, right now? And I said, yes. And he said, congratulations. And I thought, this guy's crazy, you know.
You just won the lottery.
Yeah, he doesn't understand how serious this is. You know, everyone's going to know I've been fired, etc.
I'm unemployed.
But he told me later that he knew some things about me before he called. And in that moment, what he realized is I was now free, and that he was going to be working with me in this seminar. And in fact, some months later, I was co-teaching that course with him in North Lake Tahoe, and
wow.
It was fantastic. I wanted to call the supervisor and thank her, you know. And I think there are a lot of times when circumstances hold us back and we don't even know it. And it's not until some dramatic thing happens that we get like squished out like a watermelon seed and end up in a new and better place.
That's living in the gilded cage, sometimes padded with nice checks to take the place of reality. This is your host, Scott Cluthe. You're watching Positively Incorrect. My guest is Dr. Rob Pennington. We're going to be back with more stories from his book, Find the Upside of the Downtimes, so stay with us, won't you?